All right, let's talk about one of Python's most powerful and maybe most intimidating built-in tools, the re module. If you've ever looked at a regular expression and thought it was some kind of, I don't know, dark magic, you're definitely in the right place. We are going to turn that mystery into mastery. I mean, think about it. You've probably run into problems like this, right? How would you even do that? Going through a huge file by hand is just painful, and you're bound to miss something. But what if? What if you could just describe the pattern of an email address and let your code find every single one in seconds? Well, that's exactly where regular expressions, or just regex, come in. Now, don't think of it as some crazy complex code. It's actually much simpler than that. Think of it as a language, a tiny language specifically for describing patterns. You're basically just telling your program, hey, go find me one or more numbers, or I'm looking for a word that starts with a capital letter. So how do we speak this language inside of Python? Well, that's what the re module's for. It's built right in, so you don't have to install anything. It's just there, ready to act as the translator between your Python code and the incredible power of regex. So here's our game plan. We're going to start with your core toolkit, just the essential functions you'll use all the time. Then we'll actually learn the language of patterns. After that, we'll put it all together with a real-world example. And finally, we'll talk about where you see regex out in the wild and cover some super important best practices. Okay, let's dive right into your toolkit. Now, the best part about the red module is you really don't need to learn all of it at once. We're just going to focus on a few workhorse functions, the ones you're going to come back to again and again. First up, re.search. This is your go-to when all you care about is finding the very first time a pattern shows up in a string. It just scans through the text and stops the second it gets a hit. Simple as that. So let's look at this. We've got a simple string. The pattern we're using is r*d+. Now, that little r at the start, that makes it a raw string. You should pretty much always do this with regex. It'll save you a ton of headaches with backslashes. The pattern itself, d+, just means one or more digits. And boom, it finds the number. But here's a key detail. re.search doesn't just hand you the text back. It gives you a special match object. To actually get the text that it found, you have to call the .group method on that object. So it's kind of a two-step dance. You search, and then you extract. Okay, that's great for finding the first one, but what if you need all of them? What if there are multiple phone numbers or multiple email addresses? For that, we're going to need a different tool, re.findall. So check this out. We've got a string with 3 different order IDs. We're using the exact same pattern as before, r.+, but this time we're calling re.findall. It's not going to stop after the first one. It's going to go through the whole string and scoop up every single match it finds. And here is the big difference. Look at that output. Findall doesn't give you a match object. It just gives you a clean Python list with all the strings it found. This is so convenient, right? It's perfect for when you just want to grab a bunch of stuff all at once. Now, you might also see something called re.match, and this one trips people up all the time, so listen close. Re.search will find a pattern anywhere in the string. Re.match is super strict. It will only find a match if the pattern is at the very, very beginning of the string. If it's not, it finds nothing. So far, all we've done is find things. But what if you want to change them? That's where re.sub, which is short for substitute, is an absolute lifesaver. Think about cleaning up messy data or hiding sensitive information. Using it is pretty easy. You just give it 3 things: the pattern you want to find, the new text you want to replace it with, and the string you're working on. And just like that, it finds the number and replaces it with asterisks. Perfect. All right, so all these functions are amazing, but they're only as good as the patterns you give them. To really unlock what you can do, you have to speak the language. So let's look at the basic vocabulary of regex syntax. These special symbols are called metacharacters. A dot, for example, is a wildcard for any single character. /d is for any digit. /w is for any word character, so letters, numbers, and the underscore. Square brackets let you build your own custom character sets. And then you have quantifiers like the plus sign for 1 or more and the star for 0 or more. Honestly, this little toolkit right here will solve like 90% of your day-to-day problems. Okay, time to put it all together. We have our functions, and we have the basic syntax. Let's combine them to tackle a more realistic problem, pulling specific data out of a string. So our mission is to grab just the name John and the age 30.
Now look really closely at that pattern. See the parentheses around W plus and D plus? That's the secret sauce. Those parentheses create what we call capturing groups. It tells the regex engine, hey, match the whole pattern, but save the parts inside these parentheses for me. So when we get our match object, instead of calling .group, we can call .groups with an S at the end, and it just hands us a neat little tuple with only the data we wanted. And that right there, that is the real magic of regex. We're not just checking if a pattern exists, we're performing surgery. We're reaching into the text and pulling out the exact pieces of information we need, all in one clean move.
All right, let's wrap this up. Let's talk about where you're actually going to use these skills in the real world, plus a few pro tips that'll help you write better, cleaner regex.
Oh man, regex is everywhere. You use it for data cleaning, stripping out weird characters. It's a lifesaver for parsing log files to find specific error codes or timestamps, validating user input on a website, like checking if an email address looks like an email address. That's regex. And of course, web scraping to pull data out of HTML. It's a fundamental skill.
Here's a quick tip for when you need more speed. If you're going to use the exact same pattern over and over, say inside a loop that runs thousands of times, it's actually faster to compile it first with re.compile. This basically pre-processes the pattern, so Python doesn't have to figure it out from scratch every single time. So here's your final checklist. Number 1, always use raw strings, that little R before the quotes. 2, keep it simple. A readable pattern is better than a clever, complicated one. 3, test your patterns online. A site like regex101.com is an absolute game changer. And finally, remember that you or someone else might have to read this code in 6 months. Make it understandable. So let's go all the way back to the beginning. Remember those problems? Finding every email in a file? Grabbing every phone number from a web page? That's not a tedious manual chore anymore, is it? With the tools we just covered, you literally have the superpower to solve those problems in seconds. You've just learned the language of patterns, so the only question left is, what problems are you going to solve with it?